we had trained so hard and so long and so well together that it was muscle memory. And my brain would shut off, honestly, especially when I was just a team member. Hey, this is your position, here's your field of fire, fuck everything else in the world that's not right in front of you or me talking to you. And so that's kind of, what happened. But there's one day I kind of describe, I call it Judgment Day. And again, memory being fallible, I'll try to give it to you as from my perspective. 2nd Platoon had gotten in contact somewhere at this village that we'd been to a few times, and we knew that 9 times out of 10 when you went to that village, you're going to get in contact. So it was kind of normal. We're like, all right, 2nd Platoon's over at whatever. I wish I remember the name of that place. They're in contact. We're going to go help them out. We were QRF, get our shit on, start heading out. And not 100 meters outside Cop Nolan, there was this big orchard that came right up against the wall that we had fought with our higher up to cut down for so long because it was a huge security gap. Anybody could just creep up through that orchard and throw something over the wall. Hadn't even gotten through that orchard and we start getting rounds over the top of our head. Luckily, we were still close enough to Cop Nolan, and we had the 50 up in the tower. We had a lot of support, so we kind of put that to bed. And I remember the contact came from this direction, but when we picked up, we kept moving towards 2nd. And I remember that being really strange in my head, because all the training we'd done up until that point was, as soon as you take contact, you close with and destroy that enemy. But we were going this way to 2nd. I was like, all right, well, you know what? We had taken a lot of little pop shots every now and then, so I was like, well, maybe they're thinking it's just pop shots, and we don't need to spend any effort on it. And on the way there, eventually we get a call on the radio. Again, I'm 90% sure this is the same day, but we get a call that Lovelace had been shot in the face, and our mission had now changed from QRFing 2nd over at this village to going and securing an LZ for Lovelace. So we go do that, we set up the LZ, didn't get in contact there. And then we go to pick up and continue moving towards 2nd, and we get another call of radio that Yance had hit an IED. Yance was one of our fisters, or he's a mortarman. And that he was litter, critical status, and so we had to go set up another LZ, do that. So we went over there and secured the LZ for Yance. Again, hadn't taken contact up until that point. We get Yance out of there, and then we pick up and continue our original mission back over to 2nd. And we get to this big village, and we're setting up security around the village. And there's a little gap, it was kind of a unique village setup that we hadn't really seen before because it was a circular compound. Most of the time it was kind of just like weird rectangles and blocks that were kind of shipped together. And this was like a big circle, a big kind of road going around this village. Unimportant detail that I just remember for some reason. We're walking through there, and there's a break in the wall. And Sergeant Ogden he was our platoon sergeant at the time. He's a couple guys in front of me. And it had been quiet, up until this point. And it had kind of turned into another like, all right, well, let's just do what we got to do and get back home thing. But he's going across that gap in the wall, and then boom, we just hear an RPK open up, and Ogden gets hit in the leg, and that's when shit popped off, and it got real heavy, really fast. We were taking fire from multiple positions, and I mean it was close. It was real close. I remember one of the moments. I think I was the most scared during that deployment. Our mortarmen were right behind me, and they had the handhelds, the 60 mics, and they're going to engage. And I'm looking at them, and that barrel is damn near straight up and down on this thing. And I yelled at the mortarman, like I know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? I'm like, yo, that thing is straight up and down. You can't shoot it like that. And they were professionals, they completely ignored me, didn't even engage, and just started dropping rounds. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to get blown up by my own mortars. But didn't, obviously. But that's how close they were. You know, they were right on top of us, right on the other side of this wall. And took some sustained fire for a long time. Finally got the bird in to pick up Sergeant Ogden. That pilot was an absolute gangster. There was very, very small area for that bird to land, and it was a hot LZ, and he somehow did it, and we got him on there and got them out. We could just maintain presence there. I think I don't know if we pushed out into the woods or into the area around us. I didn't. And then once that was over, we picked up, started pushing back to Nolan, and it was a pretty long walk. This village was one of the further places that we would go to. And I remember we get back in, and everyone's just like, dude, what a hell of a day. It's 9 o'clock at night at this point, and we had been outside the wire since 6 or 7 a.m. If not us, another squad, another element of Charlie Company had been in contact all day, whether it was IEDs or you know, direct fire, whatever. And after every patrol, we would sit down and do kind of like an after-action review, talk about what happened. And 3rd Platoon's in the middle of their AAR, and somebody comes running over from 1st Platoon's side, and, hey, have you guys seen Kennedy? Like, no, man, he's not in our platoon. Like, no, I'm like, all right. A couple minutes come later, hey, you guys seen Reedy? No. Like, what do you mean? Come to find out, Reedy and Kennedy and Nemec, I don't remember who the 3rd one was, were missing. We had no idea where they were. And come to find out, somebody, I don't know how it happened, but they somehow didn't get the signal to move with the rest of their platoon. So they were just sitting there pulling security, and their platoon went home, and then we find out later that they were still out there. And everyone starts freaking out, you know, like, holy shit, they don't have a radio. Somebody has the idea to start shooting up star clusters. We didn't know if they were lost, like they didn't know, they couldn't figure out their way back. And so we're shooting star clusters and pen flares, and we're yelling for them. And as we're spinning up an element to go out and look for them, here they come, walking back into the cop, and they're like fucking so pissed, like, what the hell? Like, nobody told us we were moving, you know, and we thought we had this crazy situation. We didn't know if they had been kidnapped or whatever. But it was obviously, you know, big relief seeing them come back. So yeah, you know, started our day in contact, and then ended the day thinking we were missing 3 guys, and it was just a crazy day. And the not knowing what to do is, I think, that's when things would get scary, because we trained for contact. We know what to do when we're in contact, but I don't think we'd ever trained on what happens when guys go missing, you know? So we were all just kind of like, let's shoot some star clusters and hope that they see them and can find their way back to Nolan, which luckily worked. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy day.